There is a strange thing about life. The more tightly you hold it, the more it slips through your fingers. The more you chase it, the more it runs from you. And the moment you stop, breathe, and allow yourself to simply be, life turns toward you with a gentle smile, as if it had been waiting for you all along. Relax. That is the beginning of everything. Not the relaxation of laziness or giving up, but the relaxation that comes when you stop fighting with yourself. You've spent so much time carrying the weight of expectations, your own and those handed to you by the world, that you have forgotten how light your being truly is. You have been taught to tighten your jaw, straighten your spine, and push your way through the storm, believing that pressure produces diamonds. But you are not a stone waiting to be crushed into brilliance. You are a living, breathing, unfolding expression of something infinitely more fluid. And fluid things are not shaped by tension. They are shaped by flow. Let go. This is the part that feels difficult, sometimes impossibly so. To let go means to trust the unseen, to unclench your hands from what you think you must control, and to allow life to move with you, not against you. You have been told that surrender is weakness, that certainty is power, that you must know everything before you take a step. But life doesn't operate on the mechanics of certainty. It breathes through rhythm, intuition, alignment, and timing. You can only ever know the moment you're in, and that moment is the only place where life actually happens. When you let go, you stop demanding that the world bend to your will, and instead you begin to dance with it. You stop forcing outcomes and start noticing opportunities. You stop gripping so fiercely to the story you think you're supposed to be living and begin to wonder about the story that is actually unfolding for you. You cannot discover what is meant for you while clinging to what is not. Letting go is not an act of loss. It is an act of space-making. Space for new ideas, new possibilities, new energy, new versions of you. Sometimes life removes things not because they were wrong, but because you have outgrown them. And you must be freed from your own past to step into your future, and step into the life waiting for you. Not the one you were told to want, not the one you are trying to force into existence, not the one built on fear or survival, but the one calling your name from deep inside your chest. There is a life that belongs to you, uniquely, unmistakably, unquestionably. A life shaped by your nature, not your conditioning. A life that feels like home, not like a performance. A life that doesn't drain you, but expands you. And it has been waiting patiently for you to stop resisting your own becoming. But stepping into that life requires a willingness to trust your inner movement. You cannot walk toward your destiny while dragging the weight of old identities behind you. You cannot become who you are meant to be while gripping so tightly to who you used to be. There is a certain bravery in releasing the familiar, even when the familiar is uncomfortable. People often stay in situations that suffocate them simply because those situations are known. But the known is not always the truth. The known is simply what has been repeated enough times to feel safe. Your life is not meant to be a repetition of the past. It is meant to be an emergence into something deeper. To step into the life waiting for you means stepping into a space where your alignment matters more than approval, where your inner peace matters more than speed, where your authenticity matters more than perfection. Relax. Let go, and step into the rhythm of your own existence. Notice how the breath enters your body without your permission, how your heart beats without your control, how life continues to move through you even when you are exhausted. There is something within you far greater than the mind that worries. There is a knowing, a presence, a silent intelligence that has been guiding you all along. When you relax, you can feel it. When you let go, you can trust it. And when you step forward with it, your entire world begins to shift. You spend so much time thinking success will feel like a sudden explosion, some dramatic, earth-shattering moment that finally proves your worth. But success, fulfillment, purpose, they unfold quietly. They begin with a shift inside you like a tide turning. They begin with one breath that isn't rushed, one thought that isn't fearful, one choice that isn't driven by doubt. Life begins not in the grand gestures, but in the subtle ones. Relax your grip on the idea that everything must happen quickly. Growth is not a race, it is a rhythm. Flowers don't bloom when you yell at them. Trees don't grow taller by force. The moon doesn't rush through its phases just because the night is long for someone. Your life, too, has a natural pace. And when you stop trying to outrun your own evolution, you begin to experience the beauty of living in alignment with it. Let go of the belief that struggle is your only path forward. You were not born to suffer your way into a meaningful life. Challenges will come, yes. Hardship may shape you, yes. But the purpose of struggle is not to break you, it is to awaken you. To make you more conscious, more aware, more open, more alive. What breaks you down also breaks you open. And in the openness, there is a new beginning. But you must allow yourself to loosen the chains of old stories. The stories that say you are not enough. The stories that say you must become someone else before you can be loved, respected, successful, or free. The stories that say your dreams are unrealistic, impractical, or too big for someone like you. These are not truths. They are echoes of fear passed down through other fearful people. You do not need to inherit them. You can let them go. Every time you let go of a false belief, you take another step toward the life waiting for you. Every time you release a fear, you create room for courage. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, you align with your higher path. Every time you relax into yourself, life opens another door. There is a moment in every person's journey when they realize they are not competing with the world. They are meeting themselves. Not the self shaped by fear, but the self shaped by truth. And this self does not need to fight for worthiness. It does not need to convince anyone of anything. It simply exists, fully, without apology. When you begin to live from this inner place, everything shifts. Your relationships become more honest. Your decisions become clearer. Your intuition becomes louder. You stop chasing things that drain you, and you start attracting things that nourish you. You stop forcing life, and you start flowing with it. You stop gripping outcomes, and you start trusting timing. Relax, let go, step forward. You don't need to know what the entire path looks like. You don't need to see all the steps at once. Life will reveal itself as you walk. The next chapter won't appear while you're clinging to the last one. The doors meant for you won't open while your hands are full. Space must be created for the new to enter. There is a reason you feel the pull towards something more. There is a reason you feel restless in situations that once felt comfortable. There is a reason certain habits, patterns, or relationships feel too heavy to carry anymore. You are evolving, and the life waiting for you requires a freer, lighter, more open version of you. Not a perfect version, just a truer one. You are not behind. You are not late. You have not missed your chance. You are on the exact page of your story where something new begins. And beginnings rarely look the way we expect. Sometimes they look like endings. Sometimes they look like confusion. Sometimes they look like quiet shifts that no one else notices. But beginnings always start with a moment of surrender. A moment when you decide, I no longer need to fight my own becoming. Life is far more intelligent than we give it credit for. It knows what you need even when you resist it. It knows when to close a door because you would never leave on your own. It knows when to disrupt your comfort because comfort was starting to hold you back. It knows when to guide you into uncertainty because uncertainty is where you discover who you truly are. So breathe. Trust the process. Trust yourself. Trust the timing. You do not need to strain for what belongs to you. You do not need to chase what is aligned with your soul. What is meant for you will arrive not through fear, but through presence. Not through pressure, but through ease. Not through clinging, but through openness. Relax, let go, and step into the life that has been waiting, patiently, quietly, and lovingly for you to say yes. There comes a time when the soul whispers more loudly than the noise around you. A time when the outer world feels too small to contain what is stirring within. You may not always recognize this whisper as guidance. Sometimes it feels like restlessness, sometimes like discontent. Sometimes it feels like a quiet longing that you cannot quite describe. But this stirring is the first sign that you are being invited to grow beyond the borders of your current life. Not because the life you have is wrong, but because you have more within you than you have yet allowed to unfold. Relax into this stirring instead of resisting it. Most people run from the whispers of their own soul because change feels uncertain. They prefer to cling to the familiar, even if it limits them, because the unknown looks vast and intimidating. But the unknown is not your enemy. It is the birthplace of all that has not yet bloomed in you. It is the field where new dreams are planted, new versions of you are shaped, and new paths appear that you could never have imagined when you were locked inside your old patterns. Let go of the belief that you must have every answer before you take the first step. Answers do not precede movement, they grow along the way. When you hold too tightly to the demand for perfect clarity, you suffocate the natural unfolding of your own evolution. Life is not a puzzle you solve, it is a mystery you participate in, and mysteries reveal themselves in layers, through experience, through presence, through willingness. You were not meant to navigate life like a machine calculating outcomes. You are meant to move like a river, learning the path as you flow. No river knows its entire journey at the beginning. It simply moves forward, trusting gravity, trusting motion, trusting that every bend leads somewhere meaningful even if it cannot yet see what lies beyond it. You too are meant to trust the current within you. There is a direction your life naturally wants to take, and when you stop resisting, you will feel it. It shows up as alignment, ease, a sense of rightness that cannot be explained but can always be felt. As you relax into your own becoming, you begin to see that the struggle you thought was necessary was often self-created. You were wrestling with expectations that were never yours. You were trying to fit into shapes that were too small for you. You were measuring yourself by standards that did not match your nature. And life has been gently trying to loosen your grip, trying to show you that everything becomes lighter the moment you stop fighting your own truth. Letting go is not something you do once. It is a continual softening, a daily decision to no longer carry what weighs you down. You may have been holding on to ideas of who you must be, identities shaped by your past, your environment, or the voices that once influenced you. But identities are not prisons, they are temporary containers, and many of them have reached their limit. You are allowed to outgrow who you once were. Even if others are attached to that version of you, you are allowed to release the roles that no longer bring you alive. Even if they once felt meaningful, you are allowed to step out of the expectations that people placed on you, even if those expectations helped you survive at some point. To step into the life waiting for you, you must first understand that not everyone will understand your transformation. Some people will feel threatened by your growth because it challenges their own comfort. Some will try to pull you back into the familiar patterns you are trying to release. Some will encourage you to remain small because your expansion makes them confront their own limitations. But your evolution is not a betrayal. You are not responsible for making others comfortable with your becoming. You are only responsible for honoring the truth that rises within you. When you begin to let go of what no longer aligns with your soul, you may feel empty at first. This emptiness is not a void. It is a clearing. The old leaves have fallen, but the new ones have not yet grown. Do not rush this space. Do not try to fill it with distractions or noise. Emptiness is fertile. It is where clarity is born. It is where your spirit breathes. It is where you reconnect with yourself without the interference of your old conditioning. In this spaciousness, you will begin to hear the quiet nudges of your deeper self. It will guide you not with force, but with subtlety. A thought that feels warm, a direction that feels right, a desire that feels true even if it frightens you. And you must trust this guidance. You must trust yourself. For too long you have tried to rely on the external world for direction, forgetting that the compass inside you has always been the most accurate guide. Relax into the idea that you do not need to be constantly striving. Constant striving is a symptom of distrust. Distrust in yourself, distrust in life, distrust in timing. True alignment does not require frantic effort. What is meant for you arrives on a frequency that matches your inner peace, not your inner panic. When you relax, you rise into the frequency of what is meant for you. When you let go, you make space for it. When you step forward, you meet it halfway. You cannot step into the life waiting for you while carrying the energy of fear. Fear tightens the body, narrows the mind, and blinds you to the opportunities that surround you. But when you breathe deeply, when you drop your shoulders, when you soften your heart, something shifts. You become receptive instead of resistant. You become open instead of defensive. You become aligned instead of anxious. And from this state, life begins to respond differently. You meet people who resonate with your new frequency. You notice doors that were always there but hidden from your fearful eyes. You attract opportunities that match your renewed sense of self. You make decisions not from survival but from wisdom. You begin to understand that the universe is not testing you, it is teaching you, and every lesson is designed to guide you toward a deeper version of your own truth. There is a life that is already forming for you, even if you cannot see it yet. A life where you wake up with a sense of purpose rather than pressure. A life where your actions come from clarity rather than confusion. A life where you are not constantly trying to prove your worth because you have finally realized that your worth was never in question. A life where your relationships feel nourishing, not draining. A life where your work expands you instead of diminishing you. A life where peace is not something you chase, but something that naturally arises from within. But to reach this life, you must be willing to release the version of yourself that is built on fear. The version that overthinks every step. The version that sabotages blessings because it doesn't feel deserving. Version that stays silent when it wants to speak. The version that clings when it needs to trust. The version that hides its light to avoid judgment. That version was created to protect you, but it cannot carry you into the future you desire. It is time to thank it, then gently let it go. Relax into the knowing that transformation is not meant to be rushed. The seed does not resent the soil for its darkness. The butterfly does not resist the cocoon even though it feels like confinement. There are stages to your becoming, and each stage has its own beauty. The confusion is part of it. The stillness is part of it. The uncertainty is part of it. The release is part of it. The courage is part of it. You cannot skip these stages. You can only soften into them. Let go of timelines. You are not late. You are not early. You are precisely where you need to be for the next unfolding. Life does not operate on the rigid schedules you create in your mind. It operates on readiness and alignment. When you are ready inside, the outside rearranges itself. When you become the version of you that is capable of receiving the life you want, that life appears effortlessly, and stepping into the life waiting for you does not always require dramatic change. Sometimes it is something subtle, like choosing honesty over habit, choosing rest over burnout, choosing intuition over fear, choosing presence over distraction, choosing self-respect over people-pleasing, choosing boundaries over resentment. These small choices, repeated daily, transform the landscape of your entire life. The life waiting for you is not somewhere far away. It is just beyond the layers of fear you've been peeling off. It is just beyond the limiting beliefs you've been dismantling. It is just beyond the self-doubt you've been healing. It is right here, hovering at the edges of your awareness, waiting for you to notice that you are already becoming the person who belongs in that life. Relax into this truth. You do not need to earn what is meant for you. You simply need to align with it. Let go of the battles that exhaust you. Let go of the expectations that shrink you. Let go of the stories that confine you. Let go of the pressure to be further ahead. Let go of the idea that you must struggle your way into a meaningful life. And when you finally loosen your grip, when you finally stop resisting, when you finally allow life to flow through you rather than around you, you will step forward, not with fear, but with quiet confidence. Not with tension, but with ease. Not with doubt, but with a deep inner knowing. You will step into the life that has been waiting for you all along. There is a gentle truth that reveals itself only when you stop rushing through your own existence. Life has never been against you. It has only been waiting for you to slow down long enough to understand its language. It speaks not in thunder, but in whispers. Not in demands, but in invitations. Not in force, but in flow. And when you relax into that flow, a new world opens. One that was always there but hidden behind the noise of your own overthinking. Relaxing is not an act of laziness. It is an act of awareness. It is the moment you rise above the frantic chatter of the mind and settle into the deeper intelligence within you. There is a vast quiet space inside you that knows exactly where you are meant to go. It knows the next step, even when your mind doubts. It knows your path, even when your eyes cannot see it. You reconnect with this inner knowing the moment you stop trying to control every detail and simply allow yourself to breathe. People fear stillness because stillness shows truth, and truth often requires change. The mind clings to the familiar because the familiar feels safe, even when it suffocates your growth. You have held on to situations, relationships, patterns, and identities not because they nurtured you, but because they were known. The known can become a cage, and you may not notice the bars until life nudges you to grow beyond them. That nudge can feel like resistance, discomfort, or restlessness, but it is simply your deeper self asking for freedom. Letting go is the opening of the cage door. It does not mean you reject your past. It means you stop allowing your past to dictate your future. It means you loosen the grip on stories that no longer serve you. Stories about who you must be, how much you must control, how quickly you must move, how much you must sacrifice. These stories exhaust the spirit because they are built on fear. But when you let them go, even gently, you create enough space for something new to enter, something honest, something aligned, something yours. You do not move into the life waiting for you by force. You move into it by choosing presence, by choosing courage, by choosing intention, by choosing authenticity. The world has taught you to achieve by pushing, climbing, competing, proving. But the most meaningful transformations occur not through struggle, but through surrender. Surrender to your own truth, your own rhythm, your own journey. When you step out of the mindset of force and into the mindset of flow, life responds differently. It begins to cooperate with you rather than slip away from you. Your evolution is not meant to be a battle. It is meant to be a returning to the self you silenced, the dreams you postponed, the intuitions you ignored, the voice inside you that has always known the way. Every time you choose to relax rather than panic, trust rather than fear, release rather than cling, you move closer to that voice. You become more sensitive to its guidance. You begin to understand that inner alignment is the real source of clarity. When you are aligned inside, confusion falls away because you are no longer trying to be someone you are not. The life waiting for you is not built on pretending, it is built on truth. And truth asks for honesty with yourself. Honesty about what you desire, what drains you, what inspires you, what frightens you, what you secretly long for, even if you have never spoken it aloud. You do not need permission to outgrow what no longer resonates. You do not need approval to step into a life that feels like home. You do not need validation for choosing peace over chaos, authenticity over conformity, alignment over expectation. You are allowed to release the pressure that has been crushing your spirit. Pressure to meet deadlines that do not match your rhythm. Pressure to fulfill roles that do not reflect your essence. Pressure to maintain connections that no longer nourish your soul. Pressure to chase achievements that leave you empty. None of this pressure comes from your true self. It comes from fear, conditioning, and the belief that you must earn your place in the world. But your place is inherent. You do not need to earn what you already are. When you relax into your being, you discover that life is not a competition. It is an unfolding, a blossoming, a gradual revealing of who you really are. You stop rushing, you stop comparing, you stop grasping. You begin to understand that nothing real can be taken from you, and nothing meant for you can pass you by. This understanding liberates you from the anxiety that has held you hostage for so long. It allows you to move through the world with greater ease, confidence, and peace. Letting go does not always mean losing. Often it means winning back pieces of yourself you abandoned in order to survive. Pieces like joy, curiosity, openness, wonder, creativity, connection, spontaneity. When you let go of the weight that has kept you grounded in fear, you rise into a lighter version of yourself, one capable of receiving the blessings that were always meant for you. Stepping into the life waiting for you is not a single decision. It is a continual choosing. A choosing to stay open even when you are uncertain, a choosing to trust even when the path is unclear, a choosing to honor your inner voice even when others do not understand. This choosing becomes easier when you realize that the life you desire is not separate from you, it is emerging through you. Every moment of self-awareness, every moment of inner peace, every moment of clarity is a step toward that life. You may think you need to change everything externally, but true change begins internally. When you shift your energy, your world shifts with you. When you stop trying to control outcomes and instead align with your highest truth, life begins to rearrange itself effortlessly. Opportunities appear without strain. People enter your life who resonate with your spirit rather than your fear. Situations unfold that reflect your inner growth. This is not coincidence, it is coherence. The outer world always mirrors the inner world. Relax into the unknown, because the unknown is not empty. It is filled with endless potential. You may fear stepping into a life you cannot fully see yet, but clarity comes after movement, not before. Your growth is calling you forward. If the path ahead feels uncertain, it is because you are meant to create it. If it feels unfamiliar, it is because it belongs to a version of you that you are still becoming. The uncertainty is not a warning, it is an invitation. Let go of the belief that you must hold everything together. You are allowed to release control, to trust the process, to allow life to support you. You are not meant to carry every burden alone. You are not meant to solve every problem in your mind. You are not meant to know every answer in advance. You are meant to participate in a greater intelligence, life's intelligence. And life guides you not through pressure, but through resonance. What feels right, what feels aligned, what expands you, that is your compass. When you stop demanding certainty and instead embrace presence, life becomes lighter. You begin to notice beauty in places you once overlooked. You begin to appreciate moments instead of racing through them. You begin to experience connections instead of performing within them. You begin to live rather than survive. And it is in this state of presence that you become capable of stepping into the life that has been calling to you quietly through every challenge, every desire, every moment of longing. A life waiting for you is not fragile. It will not disappear if you take your time. It does not require desperation. It does not require perfection. It simply requires your willingness to release what you have outgrown, your willingness to trust your inner rhythm, your willingness to soften into the flow of life rather than fight against it, your willingness to believe that you are worthy of a life that feels aligned, peaceful, meaningful, and real. Relax. Let go. Step forward. In your own way, in your own time, in your own truth. The path will rise to meet you the moment you stop resisting the direction your soul has been trying to take you all along. There is a moment in every person's journey when the world feels strangely quiet, as if life itself is holding its breath, waiting for you to decide who you are becoming. You may not notice this moment at first because it doesn't arrive with fanfare or announcement. It arrives softly, disguised as a feeling you cannot ignore anymore, a sense that the life you have been living is too small for the size of your spirit, a sense that something within you wants to expand beyond the boundaries you once accepted without question, a sense that you are meant for more, not in the way society defines more, but in the way your soul defines it. In this moment, you are being asked to slow down enough to listen, not to the noise of your doubts, not to the voices that have shaped your fears, not to the pressure of expectations placed upon you, but to the quiet wisdom that lives beneath all of that. It is only when you relax that you can hear this wisdom. It speaks through intuition, through impulses that feel strangely right, through subtle emotions that rise like gentle waves within your chest. It does not argue, it does not shout, it simply exists, patiently waiting for you to acknowledge it. Relaxing into your truth is perhaps the most courageous act you will ever attempt. It requires you to release the masks you've worn to survive, to let go of the identities that once protected you but now confine you. It asks you to stand unguarded in front of yourself, to see your desires not as fantasies but as indicators of where you are meant to go. It asks you to trust that what feels deeply aligned is not foolish or unrealistic, but sacred. You may feel the tension between who you have been and who you are becoming. This tension is not a sign of failure. It is the natural friction of transformation. When a snake sheds its skin, the old layer does not fall away gently. It peels, it cracks, it creates discomfort. But without this discomfort, the snake cannot grow. You too are shedding layers. Layers of fear, doubt, expectation, obligation, and the silent pressure to be everything for everyone except yourself. This shedding may feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary. You cannot step into the life waiting for you while wrapped in the skin of your former self. Letting go is not an easy task because the human mind is built to cling. It clings to familiarity, to habits, to the illusion of control. But the reality is that life cannot be controlled, it can only be collaborated with. You do not lose power when you let go. You gain access to a deeper power, the power of alignment. The power that comes when your actions are guided not by fear but by truth. The power that emerges when you stop forcing outcomes and allow life to unfold in its own rhythm. Imagine for a moment that life is not something you must conquer, but something you must dance with. You cannot lead this dance by gripping tightly to your partner. You cannot force the steps or rush the music. You must feel the movement, trust the flow, and allow yourself to be guided as much as you guide. This is the essence of letting go. Not abandonment, not passivity, but trust. A trust that the rhythm of life knows where you're meant to move next. When you embrace this trust, you begin to see how much you've been carrying unnecessarily. You've been holding on to fears that were never yours. You've been burdened by expectations that do not reflect your truth. You've been weighed down by invisible obligations, obligations to be strong, to be perfect, to be productive, to be unbreakable. But life is not asking you to carry all of this. Life is asking you to be present, to be real, to be fully in the moment that is unfolding before you, because that moment contains the guidance you've been searching for. You cannot hear this guidance when your mind is tense. Tension distorts perception. It narrows your awareness. It blinds you to possibilities. But when you relax, when you breathe deeply, your awareness expands. You begin to notice signs that were always there, intuitive nudges, synchronicities, opportunities that align with your inner desires. You begin to realize that the universe is not random, it is responsive. It responds to your energy, your openness, your willingness to trust. Letting go also requires you to release the belief that your worth depends on your performance. For so long you've measured yourself by how much you do, how much you produce, how much you accomplish. But your worth is not measured in output. Your worth is inherent. You do not need to earn the right to rest. You do not need to justify your dreams. You do not need to apologize for wanting a life that feels peaceful, meaningful, and aligned. Wanting these things is not selfish. It is honest. And honesty with yourself is the foundation of transformation. When you stop lying to yourself about what you want, what you feel, what you need, you create space for the life that truly belongs to you. There is nothing more exhausting than pretending. Pretending to enjoy what drains you. Pretending to be satisfied with what limits you. Pretending that you are fine when something deep inside you is asking for more. This pretending creates heavy internal conflict. But the moment you release, the moment you allow yourself to be authentic, your entire reality begins to shift. Stepping into the life waiting for you does not require dramatic leaps. It requires honest steps, small decisions that honor your truth, boundaries that protect your peace, choices that reflect your values, conversations that align with your voice. These small steps are powerful because they accumulate. They reshape the foundation of your life from the inside out. You may not notice the transformation immediately, because true change is subtle at first. It happens in your mindset, your energy, your emotions, your awareness. But as these inner shifts compound, the outer world begins to reflect them. People who do not align with your growth begin to drift away. New relationships appear that resonate with your soul. Opportunities arise that feel aligned with your purpose. Doors close, but others open, doors you didn't even know existed. This is not coincidence. This is coherence. When you become coherent within yourself, when your desires, intentions, and actions align, life responds with clarity. This is why relaxing and letting go are essential. They remove the internal noise that blocks your coherence. They allow you to hear the voice of your intuition, which has been guiding you quietly through every season of your life. There is a life beyond your fear, one that feels expansive, abundant, and deeply aligned. But you cannot reach it while gripping the life that was built on fear. You must loosen your grip. You must soften your heart. You must allow your dreams to breathe instead of suffocating them with doubt. Every time you relax your body, you send a message to your spirit that it is safe to grow. Every time you let go of fear-driven thoughts, you make room for clarity. Every time you take a step toward what feels aligned, even if it scares you, you move closer to the life waiting for you. Do not worry about how long it takes. Do not worry about the pace of your evolution. You are not late. You are not behind. You are unfolding exactly as you are meant to. The timeline of your life is not meant to match anyone else's. Your journey is unique because your soul is unique. And your soul knows where you're going, even if you don't. Trust it. Let yourself move gently. Let yourself breathe deeply. Let yourself grow at your own pace. Life is not asking you to rush. It is asking you to align. It is asking you to be honest. It is asking you to be present. It is asking you to release the weight you were never meant to carry, because the moment you truly relax, the moment you genuinely let go, you will step, not fall, not stumble, but step into the life that has been quietly, patiently, lovingly waiting for you to arrive. And when you begin to sense this astonishing truth, you may notice something quietly miraculous. Life has been whispering to you all along. In the moments when things fell apart, in the nights when sleep refused to come, in the disappointments that left you breathless, there was a subtle nudge beneath it all, a quiet pull urging you toward what was always meant for you. The problem is never that life stops guiding us. The problem is that we tighten our grip so fiercely around what we think should happen that we become deaf to everything that is happening. Letting go is not abandonment. It is the gentle opening of the fists that have been clenched around old fears, stale identities, and imaginary timelines. It is the willingness to breathe again, to trust again, to make peace with uncertainty. It is the understanding that life, in its infinite creativity, often paints outside the lines we draw. As you relax into this deeper seeing, you begin to recognize moments of resistance inside yourself. Subtle flinches in the mind, little contractions in the heart, each one a sign that you are still holding too tightly to a picture of how things should be. Notice the tension, acknowledge it, but do not fight it. Fighting your own resistance only feeds it. Instead, observe it as you would watch waves breaking on a shore. They rise, they fall, they dissolve. So too do these inner knots loosen when given space. The more gently you hold your experiences, the more clearly they reveal the wisdom hiding beneath them. In this way, letting go becomes less an act of effort and more a surrender into naturalness. Sometimes this surrender is triggered by exhaustion. You reach a point where striving no longer delivers results, where effort becomes its own enemy, where pushing begins to push away the very things you seek. When this happens, life is not punishing you, it is teaching you. It is reminding you that real growth rarely comes from force. It comes from alignment, from stillness, from listening. When you stop grasping at everything in front of you, you become available to the opportunities quietly forming around you. You begin to recognize that life is less like a staircase you climb and more like a river you learn to flow with, a river that knows exactly where you need to go, even when you don't. There are moments when you may ask yourself, what if I let go and nothing better comes? But consider the alternative. What if holding on is the very thing blocking what is meant to arrive? There is a great irony in the human mind. It clings to what hurts because familiarity feels safer than possibility. But possibility is where transformation lives. Possibility is where renewal begins. Possibility is where your future waits, patiently, like a door you've been too afraid to open. And life will not force you through that door. It will simply keep placing it in front of you, again and again, until you are tired enough, brave enough, or curious enough to turn the handle. As you soften your grip, something begins to shift inside you. You no longer feel the need to control every outcome. You begin to trust the unknown, not because you understand it, but because you begin to understand yourself. The fear that once dominated your decisions becomes less powerful when you realize it is only a shadow cast by your imagination. When you touch the truth of who you really are, beyond your past, beyond your narratives, beyond your doubts, you discover a quiet strength that doesn't need certainty in order to feel safe. You discover that your worth is not dependent on achievement, that your value is not diminished by your mistakes, and that your path cannot be stolen by anyone. The journey toward the life waiting for you is not a sprint. It is a slow unfolding, like the blooming of a flower that opens when the conditions are right. You cannot force a blossom open without destroying it. In the same way, you cannot force yourself into the next chapter of your life. You prepare the inner soil, you nurture the space within you, and you allow the blossoming to happen in its own time. That is the art of letting go. That is the beauty of surrender. It is not passive, it is profoundly alive. It is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It is the courage to trust life more deeply than your illusions. In this trust, you begin to notice something else. Life becomes lighter, not because circumstances suddenly become perfect, but because your relationship with circumstances changes. You stop taking everything so personally. You stop assuming the universe is working against you. You recognize that the events you once labeled as problems were actually invitations, guiding you toward greater wisdom, clarity, and alignment. Even the people who hurt you were not blocking your path. They were shaping you into someone capable of walking a far greater path than you could have before. This realization softens your heart, expands your vision, and allows you to see your story from a higher vantage point. As you rise into this new clarity, you begin to move differently in the world. You listen more deeply, you speak more honestly, you act with more presence. You stop chasing what isn't meant for you because you finally understand that anything that requires you to abandon your peace is too small for your spirit. You stop fearing opportunities because you realize that every opportunity is simply a conversation with possibility. You stop clinging to relationships that drain you because you recognize that love is not proven through suffering. You stop comparing your journey to others because you understand that your path is uniquely designed for the evolution of your own soul. When you let go, you allow room for new beginnings. But more importantly, you allow room for the truth that has always been waiting beneath your fears. You were never meant to live a life of constant tension, constant worry, constant striving. You were meant to experience the freedom that comes from trusting yourself. You were meant to experience the beauty that unfolds when you stop interfering with your own becoming. You were meant to awaken to the power that emerges when your actions flow from authenticity rather than fear. And when you begin to live from this place, everything shifts. You may find that the things you once chased begin to approach you instead, not because you became more desperate or more demanding, but because you became more aligned. You became a match for the life you desire. The truth is, life always responds to your inner state. When you are tense, closed, and controlling, life mirrors that contraction. But when you relax, open, and allow, life mirrors that openness. It brings synchronicities, opportunities, people, and ideas that resonate with the frequency of your inner peace. And the more you trust this process, the more naturally it unfolds. There is a deep intelligence within you, one that operates beneath your thoughts, beneath your worries, beneath your rational mind. Some call it intuition, others call it inner knowing. It is the quiet voice that speaks in the spaces between your doubts. It does not shout, it whispers. It does not force, it invites. And its invitations often come disguised as gentle discomfort, subtle longing, or a strange sense that something in your life no longer fits. Instead of resisting this inner knowing, learn to listen to it. It is the compass that points you toward the life waiting for you, the life that feels like truth, like ease, like home. As you walk forward, you will realize that letting go does not mean losing something. It means making space for something greater. It means clearing out the remnants of old identities, outdated beliefs, and heavy expectations so that you can breathe freely again. It means trusting that life knows how to rearrange itself for your highest good when you stop standing in its way. And it means allowing yourself to evolve without apology. You are not obligated to remain the same person you were yesterday. You are not bound by the stories you once believed. You are free to grow, free to change, free to step into the fullest expression of who you are becoming. The life waiting for you is not somewhere far away. It is not hidden behind impossible obstacles. It is already here, already forming, already reaching toward you. But it cannot merge with your present reality until you loosen your grip on what you've outgrown. You cannot carry old fears into a new life. You cannot drag old identities into a new beginning. Every transformation requires a shedding, just as every dawn requires the night to fade. The more willingly you release what no longer serves you, the more gracefully life unfolds. And in this unfolding, you will discover a profound truth. Peace was never something you had to chase. It emerges the moment you stop resisting what is. It rises the moment you stop trying to control outcomes. It appears the moment you trust the rhythm of life more than the noise of your thoughts. Peace is the natural state of your being, and letting go is the doorway through which you return to it. As you begin to embrace this sense of surrender, you notice that life is not a sequence of isolated events, but a continuous unfolding, a river of experience in which each moment is connected to the next in ways that are often invisible to the mind. You have spent so long trying to measure time, trying to plan every step, trying to predict every outcome, that you have forgotten the rhythm of existence itself. Time is not linear. Life is not a straight line. It is a web of infinite possibilities, a dance of energy, a field of potential that moves in patterns far beyond comprehension. When you relax, you allow yourself to move with these patterns rather than against them. And suddenly, what once seemed impossible begins to flow into your life naturally. Relaxation is not a passive state. It is an active alignment with reality, an acknowledgement that you are part of a greater whole that is far wiser than your fears or anxieties. When you stop forcing and start aligning, you enter into a state of coherence where your actions, your thoughts, and your emotions begin to resonate in harmony. It is in this resonance that opportunities appear effortlessly, relationships flourish, and doors that were once invisible open in ways that feel almost magical. The life waiting for you is always present, but it requires your alignment to enter your experience fully. Letting go, then, becomes a practice of releasing the old in order to receive the new. You release the expectations that no longer serve you, the narratives that confine you, the habits that deplete you, and the attachments that limit you. You release the imagined timelines and the imagined failures. You release the fear of being misunderstood, rejected, or left behind. Each release lightens your inner world, creating space for clarity, inspiration, and joy. The lighter your inner world becomes, the more naturally life begins to reflect that light outwardly. In this way, letting go is not loss, it is expansion. It is the unlocking of a door to a reality that has always been waiting patiently for your arrival. It is essential to understand that stepping into the life waiting for you does not demand perfection. Perfection is an illusion created by the mind, a mirage that has kept countless people from moving forward. Life does not require you to have all the answers, to be flawless, or to know exactly what the next step is. Life requires your presence, your openness, your courage to move even when the path is unclear. Each step taken from this place of alignment, no matter how small, brings you closer to a life that reflects your true essence. The courage to begin without certainty is the same courage that carries you forward into transformation. There is a strange and wonderful paradox in this process. The more you let go of control, the more control you truly gain. Control, as the mind perceives it, is the attempt to manipulate external circumstances to match internal fears. True control is found within, a deep inner steadiness that is not dependent on outcomes. It is the knowledge that no matter what happens outside, you are equipped to meet it with clarity, peace, and confidence. You stop being a reactive force in life and begin to be a responsive presence, one that interacts with reality in harmony rather than in conflict. This presence becomes magnetic, drawing to you people, circumstances, and opportunities that are aligned with the life you are now ready to inhabit. As you continue this journey of release and alignment, you begin to notice that your fears are not obstacles but signals. They mark the edges of your comfort zone, the boundaries where growth waits. Fear tells you exactly where you are being asked to expand. The presence of fear does not mean you are on the wrong path. It often indicates that you are approaching the threshold of transformation. Moving forward despite fear, stepping lightly into uncertainty, trusting in the unseen currents, this is where true growth emerges. This is where the life that has been waiting for you begins to take shape in ways that are profound and undeniable. You also begin to realize that your inner state shapes your experience far more than external circumstances. Two people can face the same event and experience it entirely differently depending on whether they are tense or relaxed, resistant or receptive, fearful or trusting. Your inner alignment is the lens through which reality is filtered. When you cultivate peace, trust, and openness within, you begin to see the world with clarity and respond to it with wisdom rather than reaction. The life that awaits you is therefore not something you chase externally. It is something you cultivate internally, and from there it naturally manifests. Relaxing into this understanding, you notice the subtleties of life that you previously overlooked, the quiet joys, the gentle guidance, the synchronicities that hint at a deeper intelligence at work. These moments are everywhere, but the mind that is constantly grasping or resisting is too distracted to perceive them. The practice of presence, the willingness to let go, the courage to step forward without complete knowledge, these are the conditions under which the world begins to reveal its hidden patterns and alignments. Life is not random. It is intelligent, and it communicates with those who are ready to receive it. Letting go also teaches you about timing. The human mind is impatient, always pushing for immediate results, always measuring success in the short term. But life operates on a rhythm that often transcends linear time. Opportunities arrive when they are ready. People appear when they are aligned, and circumstances shift when the conditions are mature. By relaxing and letting go, you synchronize with this natural rhythm. You stop forcing outcomes and instead allow them to emerge. You begin to understand that the right moment is always now, and that patience is not passive. It is an active participation in the unfolding of your own evolution. As you step forward into this life, you begin to notice how much energy was previously wasted on resistance, worry, and overthinking. Each moment spent gripping tightly to the past, each second spent fearing the future, each hour consumed by internal conflict. These were not acts of productivity, but acts of contraction. Letting go releases this energy and transforms it into momentum. Momentum that carries you toward your desires effortlessly. As long as you continue to act from alignment rather than fear, you begin to see that life is not a battle to be won, but a flow to be joined. One of the most profound shifts occurs in your relationships. When you let go of the need to control others, when you release the expectations that weigh on both yourself and those around you, the quality of connection transforms. People begin to resonate with your authenticity rather than your performance. You begin to attract relationships that are mutually nourishing, where vulnerability is met with respect and presence, where collaboration replaces conflict, and where love is a natural expression rather than a demand. This is the subtle power of aligning with your own life. As you step into your authenticity, the world around you reshapes itself to reflect it. You also begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. Situations that once caused anxiety now appear as invitations. Challenges are no longer enemies, but teachers. The discomfort that arises is no longer a warning to retreat, but a signal to engage with awareness. The life waiting for you is not free of difficulty, but it is free of unnecessary suffering because you no longer resist the flow. You move with circumstances rather than against them, and in this movement you discover a clarity and effectiveness that was previously unavailable. Every moment of surrender, every act of trust, every decision to relax instead of resist, compounds into a profound transformation. You begin to realize that nothing outside you can create the life you desire without your participation from within. The world reflects the state of your being. When you cultivate calm, clarity, and courage internally, these qualities manifest in every aspect of your life. The opportunities that were once hidden in the shadows now appear in full light. The doors that were once closed now swing open. The people who were once distant now enter your life with ease and alignment. As you continue this process, you realize that you do not need to force change. Change emerges naturally when the inner soil is prepared. The act of letting go is itself a preparation, a loosening of resistance, a clearing of space, a realignment with your true path. You begin to understand that life is always moving toward greater harmony, always guiding you toward what is right, and that your role is not to control, but to align. Alignment is not passive. It is a deep, active engagement with the present moment, a choice to trust the intelligence of life more than the illusions of fear. In letting go, you discover that the essence of living is not in striving, but in allowing. The tension that once dominated your life gives way to rhythm. The fear that once constrained you gives way to trust. The doubt that once paralyzed you gives way to clarity. And in this clarity, you begin to see that the life waiting for you has always been closer than you imagined. It has been forming quietly, patiently, just beyond the grip of your old fears, waiting for the moment when you would relax enough to step forward and claim it. Step forward, then, not with hesitation, but with awareness. Move into the flow of life with confidence that you are equipped for whatever comes. Allow yourself to be guided by the inner compass that has always been present. Trust that the timing, the circumstances, and the opportunities will align when you are ready. The life that awaits you is not distant, not abstract, not conditional. It is immediate, it is real, it is yours, and it is waiting for your embrace. And so, as you stand on the threshold of your own becoming, remember this: the life waiting for you is not a distant dream. It is not something you must chase or manufacture. It is not dependent on perfect conditions, flawless timing, or the approval of others. It is already forming in harmony with your essence, waiting patiently for the moment you choose to relax, to release, and to step fully into it. Every fear you release, every expectation you let go, every moment of trust you cultivate brings you closer to the life that aligns with your deepest truth. You do not need to push harder, struggle more, or control outcomes to arrive where you belong. You only need to show up as yourself, fully present, fully alive, fully aware that the path forward is unfolding beneath your feet with each conscious step. Life is intelligent. It responds to your alignment. It mirrors the clarity, the courage, the openness, and the peace you cultivate within. When you stop resisting, when you stop grasping, when you stop forcing, the way becomes clear, the doors open naturally. The opportunities appear effortlessly. The people, circumstances, and experiences that resonate with your truth begin to flow into your life with ease. Relax, not as an act of surrender to fear, but as an embrace of possibility. Let go, not as an abandonment of responsibility, but as a release of what no longer serves you. And step forward, not with hesitation, but with the quiet confidence that you are fully capable of living the life that has always been waiting for you. Remember that this life is not built on perfection, control, or resistance. It is built on authenticity, alignment, trust, and presence. It is the life that honors your rhythm, your essence, and your journey. It is the life that emerges naturally when you stop fighting yourself, when you stop running from your truth, and when you choose to participate fully in the flow of existence. So take a deep breath, soften your shoulders, and open your heart. Release the tension, release the fear, release the expectations that weigh you down. Step lightly into the vastness of possibility, knowing that the life you desire, the life you deserve, the life that matches your soul, is waiting for you right here, right now. The moment to embrace it is this moment, and the first step is yours to take.